What do you think about some companies deciding not to hire smokers? Is it a policy that will save money and create a healthy workplace? Or is it unfair and discriminating against those who smoke? Tell us what you think right now on It's Your Call. Hello, everyone. It's great to have you with us. I'm Lynn Doyle. Here's our debate for you today. Should companies be able to hire only non-smokers? A recent trend across the nation indicates that more and more businesses are telling smokers they need not apply for jobs. These companies argue that smokers have more health problems and cost more in health insurance, are not as productive as others because of all of those cigarette breaks, and that they're creating a healthier work environment with only non-smokers. But opponents say it's unfair and discriminatory, especially since smoking is still a legal activity. And they say it's a slippery slope. What's next? Not hiring obese people or people who eat nothing but red meat? There are certainly health issues there as well. As you can imagine, quite a debate awaits us, but first, we want to invite you to be part of it. You know how it works. If you want to tell us what you think, you can start emailing me right now. Here's some questions for you. Do you support a business's right to hire only non-smokers, or do you think that's unfair? Would you prefer to work for a company that keeps the smokers out? And how about as a consumer? Would you support or boycott such decisions? As I said, we want to know what you think, so go ahead and start emailing me right now. I'm at lynn@lynndoyle.net. As always, you can find us on Facebook and Twitter. And of course, this show will be available on YouTube as well. I can tell you, my Facebook page is already starting to explode, so feel free to tell us what you think. Let me introduce our guests who are going to be debating this issue. Supporting an employer's right not to hire smokers, old friend Danny Savalas, who, as you know, is a criminal and civil attorney and an adjunct professor at Drexel University, along with Amy Feldman, who is the general counsel for the Judge Group. It's a nationally syndicated legal correspondent, and she is also the author of the greatest titled book ever, So Sue Me, Jackass. Welcome, you guys. Good to have you here. Supporting the employees' smoking rights is Edith Pierce, who is an employment attorney and the principal of the Pierce Law Firm in Philadelphia. Joining her is Michael Homans, a labor lawyer in Philadelphia and a partner at Flaster Greenberg PC. Okay, folks, it doesn't matter whether you're a smoker or a non-smoker. This is an issue that has generated a lot of debate. I have to go to Amy because I just love the title of her book, So Sue Me, Jackass. What is the compelling reason for a company to say it does not want to hire a smoker?
There is absolutely no question that it is much more expensive for businesses to hire smokers than not to hire smokers. According to the CDC, it costs a business more than $3,000 more per smoker to hire someone who smokes, both in terms of increased healthcare costs, in terms of lost productivity, as you were talking about, more days off. There's no question that businesses are hurt by hiring smokers.
Okay, so with that argument on the table then, why should a firm be told who it can and cannot hire when it's money on the line?
Well, it's not just money. You're talking about making a decision about a person, probably as a result of a decision that they made maybe when they were 15 or 16 years old. They decided to smoke then, and so now you're going to hold them back on their advancement in their employment because of that decision. Maybe they want to quit, but haven't had the opportunity or weren't able to. Why does that change what kind of a good employee they can be for you? The decision needs to be based on what the person can do for the employer. Choose the best person for the job to get the job done. And frankly, if there's a little bit more cost, I think you'll make that well over in productivity because you're going to get the right person for the right job.
You know, I think this is amazing that the government is even proposing forcing private firms to accept smokers. This same government is the government that is hunting smokers to extinction. Taxing packs, you pay about $8 a pack. They over-regulate where you can be. You can't be in a building. Now you got to be on the street. Now you have to be down the street. This same government is saying private firms have to hire smokers. It's a little ironic to me that they would actually legislate and force private entities to accept what the government already oppresses.
First, I want to challenge the numbers that Amy has given. I'm not sure about the $3,000 per employee. The health insurance costs can be higher according to the insurance companies, and there's a simple way to deal with that, which a lot of large companies do, which is have higher premiums for smokers versus non-smokers, or incentives for non-smokers and for programs to encourage them to stop smoking. So this idea that you are going to you know, and really in a time where we're talking about civil liberties, to impose a rule, which is illegal, by the way, in 30 states. So 30 of our state legislatures have decided you cannot discriminate against smokers. So clearly that's the public feeling. Public polling says we should not discriminate against smokers. And I think it's just wrong to start making, as Edith said, business-related decisions based on what somebody does in their home, alone, smoking. We're going to say, oh, if you do that at home, we're not going to hire you?
And who's the government to tell me who I can and can't hire?
No.
I mean, I agree. I can hire a smoker. I can hire a smoker if I want. I don't have to hire one. I can hire who I want to hire.
Absolutely, and the government is not saying you have to hire smokers. I mean, the government is not saying you have to hire non-smokers. Quite the opposite. Right now, the government is telling us who we can and cannot hire, which is to say we can't not hire smokers, and that's the essential problem. I really disagree with what Mike said in terms of the use of the word discriminate, because I think discriminate is a word that's really bandied about here, Lynn. The idea that somehow we are making decisions based on a discriminatory reason. Discrimination is a practice that relates to making a business decision on the basis of an immutable characteristic, something about yourself that you cannot change.
You cannot discriminate based on religion. If somebody chooses their religion, you can't discriminate on that.
That's exactly the problem. That is exactly the problem. See, what we're talking about is protected classes. It's unlawful to discriminate based on your membership in a protected class. That's race. That's religion. It's not membership in a group like smoking, which the only reason you're in that group is because you made some bad decisions and hung out with the wrong kids in high school and you picked up a disgusting habit. That's really what this is about. The other problem with smoking, the other problem that we have with smoking is that Amy mentioned costs. Costs are a big consideration, but productivity is another valid reason to discriminate. And I use discriminate not in the lawful sense, but in the sense that we all discriminate. We discriminate against unproductive workers. Take a walk down any city street. Who do you see hanging out on the corner wasting work time? It's not someone building a model airplane or knitting a sweater. It's a smoker. They're all walk down the street at noon or any other day. These guys take 5 breaks a day.
Listen. A smoker can be just as productive as a non-smoker, it's the person that you are hiring. It's their person's abilities.
Let's talk about some smokers through history. Albert Einstein, under your policy, your employer, your clients are not going to be able to hire Albert Einstein. They're not going to be able to hire Jack Kennedy. President Obama, President Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Lucille Ball.
You don't have a productivity problem with Obama and
No,
Churchill. They were go-getters. You don't have to worry about
Most
them taking 5 breaks a day. If Obama takes 5 breaks a day, he doesn't get elected as president. I guarantee it. Those are go-getters, and it's a wrong comparison.
It's not that you're not allowed to hire them. It's not that you're not
what you're saying is you're not giving the
hire
person
them.
a chance. Listen, if you had somebody in there and you hired them and they're a smoker and they're not being productive, guess what? You can fire them.
Why do we have a rule?
But that does not mean that you don't give somebody an opportunity to show what they can do for you. And merely to pick smoking as your end-all be-all on whether or not a person can be a productive employee, I think you're missing the boat.
Here's a question that's come to us from Facebook, and it's interesting. I want to direct it to Edith and Michael. The question is, if it's a private company, why can't the company itself make a decision that it wants? Why should it be anyone else's business if someone hires and fires who it wants to?
What we're saying is it can't be the sole decision. It can't be the basis. It cannot be the turning point. I mean, certainly a private employer has a right to make a decision as to who they want to hire or not hire.
Look,
well, let's use that conversely then. Let's say as a private employer, I was into physical fitness and I didn't want to have someone who was obese or unhealthy in that manner. Would the rules apply? Would it still be fair, or would it be discriminatory?
I think there are differences in somebody who is being, who's not being hired on that basis versus somebody who's not being hired.
How so? How is it different? That's the question here from Facebook.
There are a couple of reasons why, and it is very different. One of the reasons is because with a smoker, you can actually point to the number of minutes per day that they spend on smoke breaks. You can point to the fact that they take, according to the CDC, who takes smoke breaks?
You can control smoke breaks. How
Correct.
do you
Really?
smoke
I don't
breaks?
see a lot of people controlling them. I see a lot of them hanging out on the street corner, wasting their time.
That's the employer choosing not to.
You can monetize.
You can have a policy.
You can monetize how much time and productivity and lost time it takes because you are a smoker.
But what if it took an obese person, longer to get up to the 4th floor to do the work, or from one end of the building to the other? How would you argue that point?
That you hire somebody who is obese.